This video will have spoilers for chapters 3 and 4 of Deltarune. So, you've played the game, I've played the game. That sure was an experience. We're just gonna talk about it. If you're anything like me, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. But you are also probably surprised by how different these two chapters were, and also by how off the mark a lot of predictions for these chapters ended up being. The first ever video on this YouTube channel was actually about how absurd a lot of old Deltarune theories were prior to Chapter 2's release, how obviously wrong and dumb they seemed in retrospect. Going into these new chapters, I think we all felt a lot more prepared and confident in our predictions, making it all the more surprising that a majority of our theories met a similar fate. However, I think it's important to think about why this occurred if we have any hope of making more accurate predictions for Chapter 5. It's become apparent that Deltarune will be much less formulaic than Chapters 1 and 2 led us to believe it would be. And of course this makes sense. Did we really expect Mr. Toby's subversion of expectations Fox to just do the same thing over and over again? A hallmark trait of Toby's music compositions is that he establishes a pattern of notes at the beginning, a motif as we call it, and then iterates on that pattern, stretching and distorting and bending it as wildly out of shape as he possibly can. The pattern of notes still retains certain key elements that define it, but those elements are often shifted around and recontextualized. And that seems to be what Toby Fox is doing with Deltarune's quote-unquote formula. He's not strictly adhering to a pattern. It's his game, damn it. He can do whatever he wants. He can make the secret boss of Chapter 3 be the knight. He can put 3 different dark fountains in Chapter 4, and yes, he can even make Sans spend the night with your drunk mother. Deltarune isn't to be analyzed like a math formula, in which we futilely try to solve for different variables while also only having a small part of the full equation. Deltarune is a story, a piece of art, and it makes sense that a lot of the theories that held up had more to do with exploring the broader themes that Toby is trying to convey artistically. Earlier this year, I played Mother 3 for the first time, a game Toby Fox is very blatantly inspired by. Mother 3 is also broken up into chapters similarly to Deltarune, and these chapters vary wildly in scale, gameplay, story progression, and even the characters you play as. Mother 3's chapters aren't primarily concerned with following a formula or a gameplay loop. This isn't just like completing the 8 gyms in Pokemon. The chapters act simply as markers of the story's progression, similarly to a book. And it makes sense because the chapters in a book aren't just the same thing over and over again. They progress the story, all in different ways. At first, it seemed a bit shocking how directly Chapters 3 and 4 address plot elements such as Chris being controlled by the player, Dess's disappearance, the Roaring Knight being the overarching antagonist, Ralsei's relationship with the prophecy, but it makes sense that these plot threads would become more and more prevalent, especially as the story reaches past its halfway point. I also think a lot of people might have initially felt disappointed that Chapter 3 didn't play out exactly like it did in their heads, but it actually serves a really important point in the overall story. When Chapter 3 starts, our protagonists, and the player most likely, aren't so much concerned at the fact that a dark fountain has sprung up in Chris's house, so much as they are excited for a new adventure with their friends. Coming off of the heels of Chapter 2's pretty whimsical, humorous tone, the fun gang decides to enjoy their time together by participating in Tenna's game show. And even after things escalate, there's still a light-hearted tone overall, with our protagonist feeling a sense of heroic accomplishment as their journey comes to yet another satisfying, happy ending. And then the Roaring Knight appears, slices Tenna apart, and makes an overwhelming show of force. They literally kill the lighthearted mood of the rest of the chapter, and they force the fun gang to confront the reality of this overall story. that there's a tangible threat to real people in the real light world, and we are currently unequipped to defeat them. It's a major reality check for the heroes and for the player, and this drastic tone shift here puts into perspective what's actually at stake, no matter how whimsical the Dark Worlds may seem. You can see this in effect just by looking at the contrast between Susie's attitude in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. Like I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of Chapter 3, Susie is excited at the prospect of getting to explore another Dark World with her friend, because she's so used to having a fun adventure with a feel-good heroic ending. But after all of that fun is violently ripped away by the roaring night, here's how Susie reacts to discovering a dark fountain in Chapter 4. She's annoyed, pissed off, and even a little bit scared, not necessarily for her safety, but for the safety of the other Lightners, as she now realizes what's actually at stake here. Undyne has literally been kidnapped and locked in the bunker. This entire Dark World plot involving the Knight is having real-world effects. Together, Chapters 3 and 4 achieve their desired effect of shifting the story from the first two chapters' silly shenanigans to a more serious tone as the story progresses. Basically, what we've learned from these new chapters is that Toby can and will twist the Deltarune gameplay loop up, down, and sideways as much as he wants in order to progress the overall story. So throw your formulas and rules out the window and start thinking of Deltarune like a book, like a story, like a sequence of plot events, and most importantly, like a message that Toby Fox is trying to convey. Comment down below what you think will happen in Chapter 5 next year, because we'll probably all end up being wrong again. But until then, I will certainly be posting Deltarune theories, analyzing the story from a narrative perspective, and digging into the deep depths of the two new chapters' lore here on the channel. So make sure to subscribe, because I upload Undertale and Deltarune content every single week. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month to get access to all of my videos early. With that being said, thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you all next week.